Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today we are going to be doing a live stream with Crypto Crow. He has his own YouTube channel. He's a great person, I think, to listen to in the space. When actually I had about 1 or 2 thousand subscribers, he had like 80,000. He reached out to me and kind of welcomed me to the Cryptoverse of YouTube, and so I've always appreciated him kind of onboarding me to that process. And hey, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, man.
Thanks, man. And yeah, you've just every once in a while you discover a gem and somebody who's just not recognized yet for the work they're doing. So yeah, I always found your work really interesting and pretty accurate too. I mean, you're obviously a hell of a lot smarter than me. I just have more facial hair. That's really it. So apparently the intelligence gets the subscribers because you've blown the hell up. You've been doing fantastic. Yeah, there's a small number of you guys that just have blown up and done really, really well in this market. And we still have a long ways to go. So who knows what the future holds for you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, so you guys, we've talked about on our channel about, keeping the emotions cool and whatnot. And one of the things we talk about on our channel is Cardano, ADA, which I know you're a big ADA bull. For you guys who are watching, Crypto Crow, he was talking about ADA before I was. So this guy, he goes way back on ADA on his channel, and I know a lot of his subscribers are pleased with that. But what do you have any? What would you say to people right now in the market? Because one of the things I see, and I'm sure you see as well, is everyone is always so freaked out over what's going to happen and worried about some of these pullbacks and whatnot. What is your general outlook on the market?
So my general outlook on crypto investing overall, I think so many people have been indoctrinated with the idea that they're going to turn $10 into $1,000 in 24 hours, and if that doesn't happen, they start to lose it. Right. And and I think it's the mentality that, the last bull cycle was a lot different than this one, I think in a large degree, because we're getting a lot more institutional adoption and investment. Everybody's hedging against the dollar. Everybody's doing this whole financial thing. And I think what people need to remember is that they're not just investing in a speculative token. They're investing in what I perceive to be the future of technology as we move forward over the next decade. And so, while people are they're trying to turn, 10 cents into a dollar overnight right now, I think a lot of people, especially new people to the space, they're not seeing the fundamentals of what they're actually investing in. A lot of people are just buying random shit tokens because they saw some YouTuber talk about it and they don't know anything about it. They're just thinking, oh, well, this guy, he talked about this and it went up, so I'm going to buy this. And it's kind of nonsensical in a sense. And then when that token doesn't perform in the time frame they expected it to do something, then they just start losing their minds and posting all over the place. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Is this the first dollar you've invested into anything? You got to relax. And, I just watched Warren Buffett, a Warren Buffett interview, and, I'm a hodler, right? I crow my coins, as I like to say. And, I invest on fundamentals and I hold long-term. I don't really try to trade up and down. I don't trade the swings, or I don't have the patience for that, for one. But so far, when I started accumulating Cardano, when I first bought Cardano, it was 13 cents. That was December of 2017, right? Right. And I've rode that wave up to the peak of $1.33, all the way back down to 2 cents. And I didn't bat an eye. I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, it's just the end of the cycle. It's going to be fine. I'm not going to dump it and sell it and try to buy more. I'm not going to play those games because I didn't want to deal with the capital gains, when the cap gain started, when it ends, what I potentially have to sell off and pay in taxes. It's whatever. I'm crowing my coins. I'm just going to accumulate more. And because I did that and I invested on fundamentals, I followed the technology as it's been developed. I'm sitting very pretty. And it's like, I don't really give a shit that it's hanging out at around $1.15 or $1.20 or whatever. It bounces up between $1.09 and $1. I don't care if it hits $2 tomorrow. What I believe is its growth over time is going to far outweigh like whatever I would be paying in like, cap gains trying to trade the swings. It's just kind of pointless to me.
So I have a question, because I see this question all the time on my channel, and I try to answer it in the best way that I can, but maybe you could provide some insight. How come ADA never does anything?
Well, you have to look for more than 10 minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
What does not do anything? That it hasn't shot up to $1.50 in a week?
What has it done for me lately, right?
Yeah, like it's silliness.
Yeah.
And nobody on my channel asked me that because they know. I've already broken it down so many ways that, it's, listen, if you focus on the technical analysis of things and you focus on the long-term charting and things like that, that stuff is fantastic. But a lot of that logarithmic charting I feel like a lot of that represents what the fundamentals are building towards. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So a lot of that stuff is, what has ADA done for me lately? ADA has just went 100% decentralized and one of the first blockchains to ever do that. I mean, like when you're talking about, a lot of us say, well, Cardano is going to be competing with Ethereum. Honestly, Cardano is ultimately competing with everything, competing with Bitcoin itself as well. And in terms of market capitalization and things like that, that's all going to continue growing. So it's not a matter of what has it done for me lately. It's what is it doing for the world over the next 5 years, 10 years. That's what's important, because if you believe in the overall mission of what Cardano is building, and you believe against all the FUD and the naysayers and the ETH bag holders and all of these guys that are running out there just spit and vomit anywhere they can like it's a new political campaign, it's like, listen, if you can just keep those guys at bay and focus on what's actually happening, not the speculative nonsense that's trying to shut everybody down that isn't what the bag holders or what the FUDders hold, it'll be fine. I mean, it's just, it's not about what it's going to do tomorrow. We could wake up tomorrow and some big announcement will happen and then Cardano goes up 70 cents in an afternoon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would agree in, obviously ADA has been one of the best performers this cycle. But, to defend the Ethereum bag holders, a lot of us aren't really bag holders. I mean, Ethereum's gone from less than $1 to over $2,000 in about 6 years. So it's not like Ethereum doesn't do anything. It's just that, we know that it takes a lot more volume to move these higher market cap coins.
Ethereum does a lot. I mean, it charges really high fees. That's a really big thing that it does.
Yeah, well, I mean, the idea though there is so this is a, just because the fees are high doesn't mean that's going to be solved. And there are more developers on Ethereum than any other blockchain. If they wanted to
for another couple months.
But if they wanted to solve that issue, like they could. So it's not like they don't know how to solve it. It's not like there's not a smart enough developer to solve the fees. Like Binance Smart Chain is literally a clone of Ethereum, and it solved it because it increased the gas limit. It's not like they can't solve it. They're just trying to solve it in a way that they don't want to, that the other projects are solving. Like they don't want to solve it that way because it would sacrifice some level of decentralization. So they're going a different way. But I agree, the gas fees are too damn high. I'm not gonna argue with that. But I don't think that, my opinion is not that, I don't think ADA is necessarily competing with Ethereum. I think that they maybe will carve out their own niche in the space. Admittedly, I'm not as like I have Cardano. It's one of my larger holdings, but I'm not just like, Cardano is the best thing since sliced bread.
Well, listen, I have Bitcoin and I have Ethereum. I hold bags of all of that stuff. Hell, dude, I have cryptocurrencies I bought 4 years ago, and I don't even remember I had them. Yeah. I import everything through software, and it sucks it all up into a report that goes off to my accountant. I don't even know what the hell I have. But when it comes to, and here's the thing, a lot of people think that I'm an Ethereum hater, and it's not that I'm an Ethereum hater. I think I've just grown more frustrated with trying to utilize Ethereum for anything useful or even anything fun for that matter, because it's so outrageously expensive. The DeFi applications on Ethereum have made it so expensive to do anything less than what DeFi does that it's practically unusable especially for any normal person. And so, listen, if you're out there and you're doing a lot of high staking and high yield farming and all that other crap on Ethereum, it's like, okay, cool, have your fun with that, enjoy your rug pulls and knock yourself out and make a whole bunch of money. And then, at some point, all that money's probably going to end up in Cardano, because once Cardano launches smart contracts and all these developers start announcing their migrations, which I'm telling you is going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen. Let me tell you this. If you go back to all my Cardano videos from the very beginning, and I'm not trying to sound like a cocky prophet or anything, but you can't refute anything that I've said because it's all happened.
You know what's funny? You know what I love about having you on here is, like, I talk about ADA and people give me crap for talking about it, but now I'm sort of like, wait a second, hold on a second, like you're getting a little too far ahead of where I even am.
And that's fine.
Yeah, no, it's great to I don't think everyone building on Ethereum's about to make a beeline for ADA. I'm not saying that ADA won't have developers. I mean, one of the biggest pieces.
Well, a lot of these companies ADA doesn't even want. I mean, the Cardano Foundation and IOHK, they don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry on Ethereum. They want the top groups. They're trying to control to some degree. They want the best applications to come from Ethereum and over to ADA. They don't want like every silly little app that wants to clog up the networks and, they don't want all the garbage. They want all the good stuff. But that's not, I mean, they're not going to obviously stop anybody, but there are a lot of big companies that are looking for whether it's sponsorships or dev support or just a variety of different things that and they're basically saying, no, we're not really interested. If you guys want to do it on your own, that's fine. But
I mean, so on my channel, like my main reason for holding ADA is primarily as just sort of a hedge, right? I mean, I knew the fees were going to go up again. They always do for Ethereum, right? Anytime we have a bull market, I know that is a narrative that you can basically ride to the moon to some degree, right? The fee. What
about scalability, interoperability, all the things that Ethereum lacks? It's not just about the fees. It's if Bitcoin is first generation and Ethereum is second generation, well, there's no question whatsoever that Cardano is third generation.
I mean, I agree.
And if that's the case, well, then where are we going? Like what?
I mean, I think of it as terms of a compromise between decentralization, security, and scalability. And I understand that anyone running.
Why does there need to be a compromise?
Well, I mean, I understand that everyone who's on Cardano is saying that it solves all three, but my contention is that I don't necessarily think that Ethereum wants to solve it in that way. They're solving it in a different way, and it's taking longer. I get it. I mean, it's taking a lot longer. There are layer 2 solutions. You have Immutable X coming out like next week or something. You're gonna be able to launch NFTs for basically zero gas. Like there are layer 2 solutions, and the issue is that you're putting a lot of.
If you had to borrow money from your parents to pay your rent, does that make you successful because you live in a nice big house?
I mean, I don't know where you're going with this.
The way I look at Ethereum and all these layer 2 solutions, I look at Ethereum as being kind of stubborn in their development cycles and choosing to do things that aren't necessarily beneficial to their own ecosystem, and they're borrowing money from their parents and other friends to pay their fucking bills.
But here's the thing. If Ethereum, like literally all they would have to do to lower the gas fees is raise the gas limit. That's all that they would have to do, because that's all the Binance Smart Chain did. Like it's not that Ethereum lacks the technology. It's that the miners are just not wanting to raise the gas limit. Like if they wanted to raise the gas limit, then all these issues of the fees would go away. But if they raise the gas,
you're fine. My wife has just popped into my office to bring me a sandwich. Apparently, like, I'm good.
No idea you were.
Thanks, babe.
The issue, though, is if they raise the gas limit, it will then cost more, so it becomes more expensive to run a node, right? It becomes more expensive, therefore it would become less decentralized. So it's not that they're saying, hey, go screw everyone, we don't want low fees. They're saying, hey, if we raise the gas limit, it will compromise some level of decentralization. There is like a rational thought process behind it. It's not just to say, hey, we don't want to scale. They're trying to solve it. It's just they're doing it in a different way. And by the way, I will say this: Cardano. I am a Cardano bull, so I'm not. I have a lot of Cardano. But if Cardano had the same demand that Ethereum had, the fees on that would theoretically go up, but they wouldn't go up because Cardano, they would just raise the. They would basically. My guess is they would make it less decentralized in that case. Now, I would love to hear your rebuttal to something like that, but that is sort of what my opinion on the whole thing is. Is the demand is a lot lower, therefore they would compromise decentralization if the demand went up a lot.
The only reason demand is lower potentially, like here's the thing: you can't really see what the demand is for developing on Cardano because nobody's able to launch anything yet.
Right, but
so
that's
so right now we're just assuming that the demand is lower, but we have no idea how many hundreds of companies are out there just chomping at the bit, waiting for Goguen to launch and all the smart. We're going to get a better idea come April, towards the end of this month.
And I agree that the demand would probably go up, but I'm interested to see what would happen when the demand does go up. Is what I'm saying. Like right now, it's easy because the demand isn't that high, so we can just sit here and say, okay, well, it's not that big of a deal. When the demand goes up, if it goes up orders of magnitude, there's going to be some compromises that have to be made.
I don't know that I agree with that, because here's the thing: you're talking about a tech. I mean, to me, it's almost like Ethereum is the horse and buggy, and everybody out there is saying, "Oh, don't buy a car because that's going to go too fast. If you go 35 miles an hour, you might die from the G-force." Like, that's the kind of mentality people had back in the day. And, a lot of people, I think, are missing the fact that Ethereum, Charles, and these guys they all, Gavin, they helped build Ethereum, right? And then they came to this kind of fundamental disagreement about what direction to take Ethereum.
Well, yeah, Charles wanted more like funding, right? Like actually investments from, and I know that was part of the disagreement. I don't know, I can't remember.
I'm sure there was a lot more to it than that.
That was one of them, though.
The personalities, I'm sure, were a big clash. I mean, look at the three of them. I mean, you couldn't get it three more different people. But when you look at a lot of the development decisions that were made in Ethereum and the differences, and you see what Polkadot is doing and where their focus is, and what ADA is doing and their focus, and they're very different. I mean, to a large degree. And when I think about everything from a purely technological standpoint, ADA is truly addressing all of the issues associated with Ethereum. There's no argument there. There's no way you can argue that Cardano is being built to be vastly superior to Ethereum. And Ethereum knows this, and Ethereum bag holders know this, which is why they're running all over the internet saying, oh, it's vaporware, it's ghostware, it's never going to do this, it's never going to do that. And then every new development milestone and every new protocol launch in this ecosystem, it gets these naysayers and fudders that much more frustrated, because they know they're that much closer to seeing a pretty sizable transition from transactions, applications on Ethereum onto something that they've been basically hating and trying to piss on for 3 years.
I mean, ADA still, I mean, okay, I don't know that we're going to come to an agreement on that, but I mean, I agree that ADA as measured from, say, I mean, and I know we're not talking about the price, we're talking about the fundamentals, as measured from market cycle bottom. I'm sure, I'm guessing that ADA will outperform Ethereum this market cycle. That's the reason I hold it, is because I think ADA will outperform it. But I do hold more Ethereum because I do think Ethereum is a safer play. Not from a.
I'm gonna stop you right there real quick,
hold on. Hold on. I'm not saying from a fundamental perspective, although I do agree with that as well.
I know what you're saying.
I'm saying from a risk-adjusted returns, when you look at the upside potential and you look at the downside volatility, Ethereum has proven itself to stand the test of time I agree that I think ADA will stand the test of time as well. But if Bitcoin were to correct, I think ADA would lose more than Ethereum. I think ADA would pull back a lot harder than Ethereum. ADA's up 60x, right, in 1 year. Ethereum's up 10x or 20x from the bottom, 20x. If Bitcoin were to have a correction, I think ADA would bleed more. And also, it's easy for us. I mean, right now, the ADA Ether valuation it's not at an all-time high. Like, I think if ADA were to go up another 110% against Ethereum, we would be flirting with an ADA Ether valuation that's an all-time high. But it is relatively far extended from, say, where it spends most of its time. So it's easy to get on the ADA train that it's going to completely overtake Ethereum because it's the valuation is trending up. However, we sort of go through these cycles where it can go up for a while, and then I feel like it will probably come back down at some point. Now, I'll give you the floor to let you respond to that, but I do think that Ethereum is a safer play, but I do hold ADA in my portfolio because I expect higher returns, but I'm also expecting there to be more volatility with ADA as well, to the upside and the downside.
All I was going to say is basically I agree with your sentiment because I understand it, because there was a point where I could have bought 430,000 Cardano for 1 Bitcoin and I didn't do it. Right. So, and as bullish as I have been, the psychology of me at the time was, well, Bitcoin is a safer play right now because there's still so much yet to. This was back before a lot of the stuff was starting to launch hard on Cardano. And there was that little sense of, well, I already have this. How much more do I need, even though I could get it really, really, really cheap, right? And it's the psychology of buying something so inexpensive and so cheap at such a great price that you almost feel like it's a trick, because you've got Bitcoin that has proven itself since 2009. It's only grown. It's only done insanely well. And now you're about to take something that you feel in your heart is a sure thing that may not grow as fast, but it's a sure thing. And you're taking a more elevated risk and investing in something that's only 2 cents. With a big promise of future growth and this and that. So it's like, I get it, because if I had done what I should have, I'd have like 50 million Cardano or something, like, you know what I mean? And I don't at all. It's not even close. So I'm still very proud of what I've accumulated and what I have, and I have a nice mixed bag. And I will say that ADA is probably it's my biggest holding right now in terms of valuation, so I feel like I'm in a really good place, but I still have Bitcoin and I still have Ethereum, and that's okay. I have other stuff too.
Is your ADA position larger than your Bitcoin position? If I'm allowed to, you don't have to answer that question if you don't feel comfortable answering it.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask
by
you
a
this.
magnitude.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you a question. There's a lot of people I've seen on various places call for a $50 ADA this year, right? Okay, so you're
not happening.
Yeah, you're the biggest ADA bull that I know. I mean, I do agree that ADA, I think it will do well, but I don't think I'm nearly as involved in ADA as much as you are. But let me ask you a few questions. Do you think, and I just just pop them off. Do you think ADA's valuation, its market capitalization, will go higher than Bitcoin's this market cycle?
It's hard to just pop off. I don't think so, but it depends. Ask me again in 3 months.
Do you think it'll go higher than Ethereum's?
See, I don't even know what they are off the top of my head.
Let me tell you. So ADA is at a modest 39 billion. Ethereum is at 239 billion, and then Bitcoin's is at 1.1 trillion. So for ADA to go to Bitcoin's current market capitalization, it would need to go up like 20. What's it at? 39 billion. I mean, we're talking about what, like 40x or something like that. Probably
no,
not exactly.
It's not happening.
Okay, so do you think it will overtake Ethereum's market capitalization? So to overtake Ethereum's, it would need to go up, let's say, about what, what is ADA again? So around 40 billion. So
Looks like it'd be about a
7,
4x.
Yeah. Well, 4x would get it to 160 or so. So maybe like 6x or so. Like, do you think? Okay, so this is the
That's
question.
possible.
Okay, but the question is not can ADA go up 6x. It's can it go up? Can it go up relative to Ethereum that much?
Right. Yes. Right. So, like, can it go up 6x? Yes, it's going to. In my opinion, I believe it will. Is it going to go up against Ethereum 6x? No, I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. But because Ethereum's going to be rising alongside everything else. So, and there's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows between the two.
I would agree with that.
So there's no real way of knowing. But even if it doesn't rise up and really just blow Ethereum's market cap away this cycle, it will in the future. I mean, it definitely will by the next cycle. But this one, it's up in the air.
I have another question. So at the beginning of this stream, you said that you bought ADA, and I think a lot of people fell into this boat actually. Like a lot of people bought ADA, in 2017. They watched it go up, they watched it come down. The people that stayed disciplined, right? Even if they didn't sell in 2018, they're still doing fairly well today, right? Especially if they bought during the bear market. Is there anything this cycle that would cause you to sell your ADA?
You got some good, interesting questions. If Charles got bit by some wild animal that like poisoned him and made him crazy, and he went on a live stream losing his mind, I might sell some.
Well, there's not like you don't necessarily have like a price target in mind or anything like that. You're just sort of riding the wave.
Because it's all relative, I mean, it's like if the price hits when? If the price hits $10 tomorrow, I'm not selling. If it hits $20 tomorrow, I'm not selling. If it hits $1.50 tomorrow, I'm still holding. But if it hits $10 in September, maybe. It's such a relative question. It just depends on the market and where we're at and the price of everything.
If it hits $10 tomorrow, I'm running for the hills with my profits, to be completely honest.
But why? You know what I'm saying? And it also depends. Like if Cardano were to hit $10 before smart contracts officially launched on the blockchain, and then Ethereum made some big advancement and the whole ecosystem changed overnight, and I felt the pressure of that competition, and we're going to peak out at $10 because they're going to need the next bear cycle to further their developments to reach new highs and this, and I mean there's just so many different variables to this. So
sure.
Yeah, it all depends. I don't have a hard target.
Too many hypotheticals. So yeah. Basically what you're saying is you're more so into ADA. You see it as a solid project that will stand the test of time. You have your position. You're not necessarily looking to sell it. Yes, maybe some crazy circumstance would cause you to do so, but right now you're riding the wave. Yeah,
pretty much. I'm very comfortable with my position and where it's at and where we're going, and the future is very, very bright. I mean, the sky. Listen, if I had the opportunity to buy Bitcoin at $1 and held it for 10 years, I'd say I'd be a pretty happy son of a gun. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when I see all these tweets of these guys who like sold their Bitcoin at $150 and they were super proud of themselves, and it's like, cool, good for you, but I don't want to be that guy. And I believe that, when you think about the changes going on in the world right now, all right, and I'm not going to get all tinfoil hat or anything, but when you look at the overall picture and you see the climate's changing in the direction we're very likely going, I do believe that Cardano and it's and basically everything that it offers as a technology is going to honestly probably help facilitate some of this crazy shit. So, I mean, but there's nothing we could do really. I mean, I don't want to get too nuts, but I feel like what's done is done, and so now it's going to be a matter of, who has enough foresight to understand the situation to at least be able to benefit themselves in some way to try and stay out of it.
I think one thing I'd love to hear your thoughts on, and investing in anything, it's always good to talk about the great things about it, but it's also good to think about, what are things that could cause some potential concern that we need to get past, right? So with ADA, what is your biggest concern?
Quantum computing,
Okay.
to some degree, but that's my concern with all of crypto.
Do you have
And
anything,
nobody's.
Do you have anything specific to ADA, or is it sort of or do you sort of see it as like if like the main thing you would think of would actually affect all of crypto, or do you see anything specific with ADA that you would like to see? Not to say that you don't think ADA could get past it, but you're sort of just waiting to see. Okay, I want to see this happen. You're not convinced.
I don't necessarily know if there is anything specific to ADA because, I joke about like Charles, getting bit by something that makes him crazy. But realistically, especially once Goguen launches and it's just done, at that point, it doesn't really matter if Charles is spearheading everything and doing live AMAs every day or not. It's like at that point, the technology is there. It's done. It's built. Now it's just ready for the world to use it. What one thing could happen to Cardano, if there was a big corporate implosion of the three different arms that maintain and develop it, that would be a real problem to some degree. But even then, once we get to a certain point, none of those people really matter so much. So
I guess that's also theoretical, like hypothetical. I was thinking, like, is there anything, say, in the roadmap or something of Cardano that we know is coming up that you're like, okay, let's like wait and see this plays out the way we think it is. Like, are there any concerns there, or are you basically just full steam ahead? Everything's
really don't have any concerns. Okay. I mean, maybe I'm naive and maybe I should, but I mean, so far everything the only thing we have to worry about are delays. I don't think it's a question of if, it's just a question of when. And so when I look at the roadmap and I read their development and what they're doing, to me, it's not a question of if something's going to happen or if something, it's just a matter
delays.
Of
but delays affect everything too. I mean, I remember
right.
Cardano wasn't I don't remember exactly. Well, wasn't Shelley supposed to launch in like early 2018 back in the day?
Yeah, but you also have to think about things too, in the sense that it's not strategically smart to just launch everything as soon as you can. And I'm not saying this is the case with Cardano, but I'm saying if I were to look at their milestone launch dates, it's always been in a good time in the market.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm sure there's some strategic stuff there. I mean, Charles is a smart guy, and again, everyone has delays, right? Everything has delays. Anything that involves any type of programming, computer science, right? There's always things that come. It's not a matter of if it will happen. It's a matter of just, like how long will things be delayed by?
Right.
I have another hard question for you.
Sure.
If ADA didn't exist, what would be your next go-to project?
Oh. Wow. If ADA didn't exist, what would be my next go-to project?
If you had your YouTube channel and you were talking about something, what would you talk about? Would you talk about Ethereum, Bitcoin, Polkadot, Cosmos, right? Avalanche. I mean, there's other projects that you could theoretically talk about. Binance Smart Chain or Binance Coin.
See, Polkadot is really good, but they're also very focused. Like they're very kind of a niche based. They're too narrow, I think, for me. One of my attractions to Cardano is its just broad scope of deliverability. You know what I mean? And usability. Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons I like Cosmos, but I haven't, dove super deep into it. I've just seen its growth. And I remember when Kava came to me wanting a segment on my channel, and I was talking about it, I think it was like 70 cents or something at the time, and Cosmos was like a couple bucks. And it's like, it's all been growing and they've been building a lot of partnerships, but none of that was around when I discovered Cardano. You're talking December of 2017. So it'd have to be like, well, if Cardano didn't exist, I guess the question is what would be more lined up? That's a really tough question, man. Damn you.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just curious. Like,
I don't know.
I sort of, for me, I sort of go by the philosophy of don't marry an altcoin, right? Like, don't get too attached, because we know what happens to we know what can happen to altcoins in a Bitcoin bear market, right? It doesn't matter how great fundamentally they are. they can pull back significantly. You know, and imagine a future world where ADA goes to like $8 or something this cycle.
Yeah, September, October.
The selling pressure, okay. The selling pressure at that point will be immense, right? It doesn't matter if the fundamentals are the best thing in the world. Like the selling pressure at some point will be too much for the market to bear. And there will be a pullback. So that's sort of why I was asking, you know, is there a price that would cause you to want to take profits, or are you just kind of happy riding the ups and downs throughout the cycles? Which you basically, yeah.
I think even at the peak of the market, if I'm one of the lucky few, that's honestly, I'm probably going to average out of a certain percentage of my position as we near what I perceive to be the peak of the market. But I'm not dumping at all. Like I might, I would feel comfortable, you know, maybe letting go of half of my position and waiting to see what happens at the peak and how far things go from there and starting the whole cycle over. But it really, again, everything is relative. And this is the other thing too, that when it comes to me talking about what I do, and I tell my viewers all the time, don't do what I do. Don't follow what I say. Don't buy something because I say I love it. Don't do what I'm going to do. What I do is relative to me and my individual situation. What works for me might not work for somebody else. Right. You know, I have a big family. I have a lot of demand on me. I have a lot of stuff going on. But I'm also in a position where I can afford to take some extra risk. Right. Some people out there can't. And that's not a bad thing. But I don't want anybody ever doing things just because it's what I'm doing. I'm doing what is best for me at the time. Everyone else needs to really, and that's a part of really understanding what you're investing into and why, and what you expect to gain out of that investment and what time period and what you can truly afford to lose. As we always say, you never invest more than you can afford to lose. As a YouTuber, I have a luxury of having people wanting to just throw crypto at me to talk about them. Right? I mean, let's be real about it. So, you know, for me, I can say, oh, well, I just made X off of this paid segment that I talked about for 5 minutes. I can throw this into an experimental altcoin and see what happens. Or I can hold this and just like whatever happens, happens. I have my meat. Everything else is peas and carrots. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, yeah, I want everybody to be very, very safe moving into this market. Right.
It's all, yeah, I mean, you said it, right? It's all about risk, right? What Jason does, what Ben does, our risk tolerances are going to be different from other people's. And that's ultimately, I think, what people, yeah, because some people can't stomach those pullbacks, right? And,
right.
You know, and some people, unfortunately, no matter if we say don't invest more than you can afford to lose, there will always be people that will invest.
There are always going to be people, right?
Because those are the people that likely capitulate near the bottom once they literally have to pull the money out to pay their rent, right, or something
exactly.
like that. So that's a tough side. Do you have? I mean, last question. Do you have a like sort of where you, and maybe you already answered this. Do you have a sort of top for this year for ADA in mind? Like, do you have like a certain place you think it's going to go?
I've done multiple different calculations based on completely different things, from market capitalization and market dominance of Cardano against Bitcoin and Ethereum, and comparing it to the previous bull market, and calculating variables to, you know, how much more popular I think Cardano is going to be over Ethereum and the like, and how much more that market share will have, blah, 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 blah. I've done that all one way, and I came up with about $8. And then I did things a completely different way, where I literally just took Ethereum's price action in 2017 over the course of the Ethereum's bull market. If I copy the bars from the Ethereum chart and I throw them on Cardano in the same time frame, it takes us to a $7.33 Cardano at the same period. So it's everything I'm seeing is pointing to between $7 and $8. Now, that's also not to say that it can't go higher.
Right.
It's also not to say that it can't be lower. So, but everything that I'm seeing is pointing to somewhere around $8 by the peak of the market.
What's a few hundred billion among friends, right?
No big deal.
Yeah, I mean, ADA right now is at 40 billion almost. So if it went up, say, let's just say it's at a dollar. If it went up 7x, we'd be looking at over $200 billion market capitalization. 300, I mean, close to 300 billion. So I mean, I agree. I think that is theoretically possible this cycle. Looking at a $200 to $300 billion or 200 to 300 billion.
Think about it this way: when altcoins have their blow off top at the end of the market, how much of the Bitcoin market cap is going to go from Bitcoin's peak into the altcoins? Because it happens every cycle.
Yeah.
So when people look at these market caps and they think, "Oh gosh, it's quite a ways away." Well, how big do you think if you calculate Bitcoin's market cap right now, calculate it at 150,000, 100,000, 200,000,
right,
calculate that market cap and take 30% of that and spread it over the top 100 alts, and then you can get a better idea as to what might be coming.
Right, and I know you know this, but just for the audience, like I think you would agree, Jason. Like the general implication of there being a $7 to $8 ADA would also imply that we probably hit like a $150,000 Bitcoin or something, right? Like
absolutely.
Like I don't think we're gonna go to an $8 ADA if for whatever reason like this is a local top and we cool down, which I'm not saying it is, but if it were, like ADA's probably not about to go to $7 or $8, right? It depends on how high Bitcoin can go. And then like as you said, so the
absolutely agree.
The implication is everything does depend on Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Bitcoin is like the big shark in the water, and then you got all these little feeder fish all around it.
Right.
And it's kind of what happens. Like people buy into Bitcoin first because it's the first thing they hear of. They put a bunch of money into it, and then they start thinking, I wonder what else is out there. And then they start getting into, lower market cap coins, and they start discovering altcoins and the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano, and then their wheels start turning, and then they start taking some of that Bitcoin profit, and then they start putting it into this altcoin and that. And over time, like money that goes into Bitcoin ultimately bleeds into the altcoin market. And a lot of people know, listen, from here, Bitcoin's 60 grand, almost 60 grand. What are the odds that it's going to 5x from here? It's very small. Even if we see $150,000, $200,000 Bitcoin from here, that's still not a significant gain in the grand scheme of speculative crypto investing, right? So if you look at something like Cardano and you say, oh, it's only $1. What are the odds that Cardano is going to go to $5 before Bitcoin 5x's?
I agree with you. The problem is that any new money will always say that at any phase of the cycle, right? So if ADA goes to $5 and Bitcoin's at like 150 grand, then everyone will say, well, the chances that ADA goes up 5x from there are a lot higher than Bitcoin going up 5x. And then that's how people lose a lot of money at some point, right? At some point, that thinking has to turn around, because if it doesn't, when Bitcoin corrects, all the coins that could have theoretically gone up another 10x, they in fact, a lot of times they pull back 80 to 90%. That's how a lot of people got burned in 2017 and 2018, is because they kept FOMOing into the coins that could easily go up another 10x. Right.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem with people that are too lazy to start doing their due diligence and homework in the times when, and this goes back to the psychology of investing. When I was able to buy 430,000 Cardano with one Bitcoin, right, because ADA was at like 2 cents, and there was something inside me that kept me from making that buy. But then once it hits 25 cents, I buy a shit ton of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's that belief system. And so the people that know that cryptocurrency exists, but they don't really know shit about it, and they haven't put in the time to really understand what it is, they're prohibiting themselves from getting into a lot of this stuff at a much better place, at a better time, and establish a much better position. So then those same people wait until, oh, wow, this is going up. Oh, wow, this is real. Oh, wow, where's my bank account? I got to go buy. And that's what starts driving everything up from there. So, those of us that started in 2017 and we didn't have the opportunity to get into a lot of this stuff at the best prices possible at the bottoms of the previous market cycle and then ride that wave up. Well, now we've got our opportunity. Now we're positioned. Now the next bull cycle is going to bring in a whole new generation of adopters while these institutions have already started to accumulate, which tells me to some degree that I'm not expecting as significant a pullback. One final point is, even though, anytime somebody says something about Bitcoin and they say, oh, isn't that crypto that dropped 80% or 90% after it hit 20 grand, everybody lost their ass. No, it's actually the coin that went up like 1,600 or 16,000% over a 2-year period before it dropped 90%.
Right.
You know, and that's the people don't understand it's like they don't know the history, right?
Yeah.
So now there are a lot more people learning the history and learning what's happening in this cycle, and they're going to hopefully be able to educate more in the next, and so forth and so on, until we have mass adoption. And then we're just basically in a position where the speculation of the markets overall have helped fuel the market's development to give us the tools we need for mass adoption to continue to grow technologically from there, instead of just from a speculative perspective.
I agree. We will probably see diminished volatility to the downside and the upside. But for altcoins, I think they will experience more downside than Bitcoin, which you probably would agree. I'm guessing you would agree with.
Yeah.
Well, I know we don't see eye to eye on everything. You know, I think Ethereum is probably here to stay. I mean, and maybe you think Ethereum's here to stay as well, but I don't.
I do.
I don't see
it's not going
Cardano.
anywhere.
I don't see Cardano overtaking Ethereum's market cap by any means this cycle. Probably not next cycle. I sort of see.
Now you're reaching.
Yeah. No,
probably not next cycle. We'll see about that.
I don't think it will. You know, the thing is, Jason, is the nice thing about it is, if I'm wrong, then I'll wipe the tears away with all the money I made on Cardano, right? Like, I don't really care. Like, I don't think it will do that, which is why I hold more Ethereum. I think it is a safer play. I hold the ADA. I'm right there with you. Like, you send it up, and I hope there's enough. I mean, to some degree, for me to sell my ADA at the market cycle top, I want people. There has to be some people out there to believe it's going to go to $50, right? Otherwise, who's going to buy my bags?
Right.
But
that's why I try to, I've always just kept it real, man. Like, I'm not here to screw anybody or mislead anybody. I want everyone to do well. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't stop doing videos through the bear market. I call it how I see it. I say what I see. And some people like it, some people don't. It is what it is. But Cardano's not going to $50 in 6 months. It's just not going to happen. But it's $1 now. If you want in, you might want to take a look at getting into a position now while it's $1, because I do believe it's going to go up quite a bit from here. But let's be real. It's,
right. And there's probably, even if it does go up, it probably won't be monotonically. Like, it'll probably have pullbacks and whatnot. Even Ethereum last cycle had 60% pullbacks, and it didn't stop it from going from $1 to $1,400, and it still had a 70% pullback at one point during the cycle.
Right.
But anyways, hey, it was a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks for coming
Absolutely.
on. I'm sure we'll have you on in the future to talk Cardano and see where we are later on.
Let's do it.
All right.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.